Got it.
And we are live. JT here. Welcome to The Huddle. The Huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I want to take a moment to thank you. I want to thank you whether you are tuning in live as we stream into our Facebook community, whether you are watching the replay on YouTube or on Facebook, or whether you're listening to the audio on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me and my special guest today. And here's my friendly reminder to you. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's wide open. So here's my challenge to you, is to go all in on this conversation, to remove any distractions. And I guarantee you, you will gain a valuable nugget that will not only help you succeed in sports, but more importantly, in the game of life. Been looking forward to my conversation with my special guest today. Before we hopped on live, we were just mentioning how long we've actually known each other. It's been a few years, we'll say, despite our very youthful and full of energy appearances. My guest in the huddle today is a Western football alum. He's also the creator of Healthy Eats. My guest in the huddle today is Luke Thomas. How are you today, brother?
I'm good. How are you doing, Sui?
Hey, great. So before we get kicked off, I know we're going to go to lots of interesting places, lots of fun places. Our conversations always bring a smile to my face. They always bring laughter. But what I often remind myself is to count my blessings. And as you know, it's a daily practice filled with ebbs and flows. I'm a firm believer that the biggest blessing we can give someone is our time and energy. So I just want to thank you for being willing to invest some time and energy into being here with me and our community today, brother.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, so we'll get kicked off, pun intended. So one of the things I often remind people is that life is a game and games are supposed to be fun. I had a coaching colleague that once said, we all have our quirks. We all have these things that make us different, unique, and really truly make us, as cliche as it is, like a special snowflake. So I'm curious, what is an interesting fact, some may call it a quirk, that maybe a lot of people don't know about you, that you'd be open to sharing with our community?
That's a tough one there. What is an interesting fact? Oh, I don't know. Give me some time to think about that. So you got any, I don't know, you know me for what? A couple of years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything that can maybe spark my memory of?
Yeah. I still remember when we first met, right? And we go back a ways. And I remember coming into a London Legion track practice. We're running the SAC, and I see this athlete who, donned out in tights, completely under armored out, and just having this energy about him, right? It was this bit of confidence, but also this ability to make me smile, to have this quick wit about him, right? It just, I don't know, there's something different. So I would say, I don't know, I still remember that, that energy you bring. It's still the same energy that you share with me every time we talk.
And I think maybe that I can help answer that question now.
Yeah.
Where I'm thinking is one thing I never do is I never make the same mistake twice, and I just drive, right? I just go, right? If you have a goal, you go to it. I know it's not going to be an easy roller coaster, or it's going to be ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, I do love that. It's one thing I've always admired about you is, again, your persistence, your willingness to get up and get after it, right? That ambition, that drive. So, okay. So I'm curious, sports obviously played an important role for you in your life, right? Like you've played, you've coached at a high level, you're still involved in sport today. So I'm curious, what has been the, biggest lesson that sport has taught you that you still find yourself applying to your life today?
One, now being an entrepreneur, I think teamwork and leadership are probably the two biggest factors, right? Being a part of the team, everyone, one thing that football taught me, and, this is why I love still coaching defense. Yes, you have 12 individuals on the field, but you each have your own sole purpose, right? If one guy's doing another guy's job, the team's not going to work. Everyone does their own job. That's the same way I do it now. And then obviously leadership, right? As I'm trying to lead my employees, I'm not trying to be a boss with them. I'm trying to make them better. As I'm coaching the young kids, I'm trying to be a leader for them and being, that mentor, that leader to take them to the next step, right? Because I think there's a big difference between being a boss and being a leader. So.
And I love the simplicity of what you're sharing, right? And what I really heard from you is, I'm a firm believer that high quality athletes make for amazing, it sets you up to be successful in any endeavor because you learn the importance of surrounding yourself with a strong and powerful team. Right? So I'm curious from your perspective, has that been something you've always done, like surrounding yourself with a strong and powerful team? Or is that something where, a coach or mentor or someone in your life kind of shared with you that the importance of doing that?
I know for a fact I haven't done it my whole life, right?
Yeah.
Just as you brought up, me being the 15-year-old kid coming in tights to track and field, was I cocky? Was I confident? Was I that same person? I got eyes on me in a room, but did they respect me quite yet? Right. That's where I used to, then when I started winning, then you get the respect. But in terms of how you lead your teammates and help coach along the way and push the best out of other people, in terms of, who taught me that, I can't really narrow it down. Like being a business owner, I've talked to a lot of different business owners and they helped me mold from the very beginning, when I started my company, when I was 26, 27, just asking the people the right questions. And just over time, just taking a little bit of this, a little bit of that, listening to the right podcasts, sitting in the room with, JP Cercelli and, Adrian Kaiser, and remember how they used to teach me how to coach the kids and what you want to focus on and stuff like that. Right. I think just taking the nidbits of a little bit of everything basically defines who I am. And one thing that I pride myself on is everything that I teach someone or that I try to instill in someone, it all comes from experience, right? I've been on both sides of the level. I've been the cocky athlete. I've been the good teammate. I've been the guy on the bench. I've been the coach. I've been the boss. I've been the worker. I've been in every different scenario. And I think that's why my experience, I can talk about things like that.
I love it. And what I really heard from you again was the power of borrowed wisdom, right? And I think anyone that's played or coached at a high level of sport understands that you can really accelerate your progress. You can get to your results faster and with greater ease if you simply have that open mind and a willingness to learn from other people's, like you mentioned, lived experience, borrowing their wisdom, understanding what, how can you get there quicker? What are some potential pitfalls you could avoid or hurdles, right? So it's really interesting. Like, I love your openness to like learning and growing from other people.
Okay. If you're not learning and growing every day,
yeah,
we're not getting better.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, a few minutes ago, you were talking about this idea of like shifting your perspective of what leadership is, right? And you talked about, there's a difference, right? And again, I've known you for a while, and you're like me, you have this ambition, you have this drive, you have this open mind, this coachability, which again, that is reps and sets of being a high level athlete. So from your lived experience, Why did you feel it was important to distinguish yourself versus a boss from a leader? Like what is your perspective on the difference?
I think a leader is someone that actually gets in and gets their hands dirty rather than a boss that just tells someone what to do. You know, I'm going to go back to coaching here because it's like entrepreneurship and coaching are so interrelated.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what book I read, and I think it was 3 parts. They said, so in order to coach, you have to explain it to someone. That's the first step. If they do not get it, the second step is now you have to show and explain it. Okay. If the third step, you have to now explain it again. If they don't get it after the third step, they're never going to get it. Right. But that's you being a leader and not just being a boss and being like, go do this. Well, okay, what am I supposed to do? Right. No, put your hands in, show them how it's done, explain to them, show them, and take that extra step to show, hey, this is why things are done this way. This is the easiest way to do it. I've done it before. If you have a better way, we can talk about it and stuff like that. And I think it's just a better way of getting kids to actually understand, and not just do something.
So what I heard from you again is the importance of like understanding why we're doing it, right? And it's interesting because I think, looking at my last 20 years of coaching, there's been this transition where athletes today, they want to know why they're doing it. And I like that. Like if I'm unable as a coach to articulate this, why we're doing something, then to me, it doesn't serve a purpose.
100%. So
I'm curious from the lived experience piece, and I love that. Again, you have this bit of edge about you, and I've always gravitated to that. Like there's this calm and confidence in your own skin that you have. From your experience working with so many different leaders, first as an athlete, then as a coach, why is it so important that we speak and honor our lived experience as opposed to trying to like this fake it or you make it BS?
I think it's the simplest way to answer that is, you can't fake it till you make it, right? You have to, if someone is trying to get to a goal and you've done it, help them, right? Like what does it make me a better person that, my competition is doing the exact same thing that I'm doing? Doesn't matter, right? But if I grow, he grows, right? I have no, I don't care if my competition makes more money than me or I make more money than them. I'm not trying to bring them down or fake it till I make it. You just got to keep rolling with the ebbs and punches.
I love what you're sharing because what I really heard from you, again, it's really like investing into the process.
Yeah.
And I know that that's something that, is one of those sports cliches, right? Like everyone talks about trusting the process. So I'm curious from your perspective, right? How has your understanding of that phrase, like trust the process, has it shifted in your transition from sport to entrepreneurship, growing a business? What has that been like?
I think it's the exact same thing, right? You have step A, you have step B, you have step C. I was explaining this to my mom the other day. Obviously she sees the stress that I go through being an entrepreneur, and I go, the difference between a team or an entrepreneur is you start with A, but you have your goal, right? Let's say the goal is $1 million. Okay. Rather than going to the variety store every single day and am I going to get lucky today? Am I going to get lucky today?
Yeah.
No, the $1 million is there. What steps am I going to take to get there? Maybe some days you go 5 steps forward. Maybe some days you go 5 steps back, but you're still on your way to that $1 million. There is a process to it. And it's not about luck. It's just about hard work, right? And you just got to trust the process to get to your end goal.
So you bring up an interesting idea because, we live in a world now where social media, again, it's a tool, right? There are some blessings that it has, and there are some challenges that it presents. And I think one of the challenges we have is we see everyone's highlight reel, right? We see all the wins. We don't necessarily see all, like you said, all the consistent and focused work that actually went in to getting that win. So I'm curious, again, you lead people. What is something that you do with the people you're leading, either, as a coach, as a football coach, or in your business, to help them understand, to keep them focused on the process?
Repetition and an open mind, I think, right? Having meaningful, trustful conversations, right? Taking a kid or the employee aside and actually having a heart-to-heart moment, right? Not just always being the boss, bringing yourself down to talk to them and stuff like that. I'm just thinking about an experience that I just had the other day in practice. Kids going to Western next year, his technique was a little off, and I just brought him aside and I go, hey, I go, what's going on here? Like, why didn't you make that play? And, so I kind of start him off with a negative, right? Like, about to chew him out, but I'm not. And he goes, oh, well, this and that. And I go, you're one of the best athletes on the field, correct? Well, I like to think that, right? And I said, no, you're one of the best athletes on the field. I go, why are you backpedaling from 5 yards when the wide receiver is running at you? If you're the best athlete, you should stay your ground. You should jam them. You should roll with them. I go, now you're just not going to make a tackle. Now you're going to make a pick, or now you have a batted pass, right? I go, see the difference in just doing those little things correctly. And, same thing talking to the chef, right? As long as you do the little things correctly and you have those meaningful conversations with them, you're going to, get to that end result.
And I love what you're sharing there. What I love, and I'm not surprised based on knowing you as many years as I have, but the power in pulling someone aside, of really investing and pouring your time and energy into their, into helping them achieve their goals. And what I love from that is you start to sort of make deposits, right, in the trust bank.
Yep.
So again, you're a high, like, you're someone who values relationships. Why, from your lived experience, why is it so important to develop that trust when you're in the business of coaching and developing people?
I think trust is, if there's no trust, there's no relationship, right? Same thing with your spouse, with anything in life, right? If there's no trust, there's no relationship. I trust that you have your job to do on the football field, and I trust that you're going to do it, right? I'm putting my trust in as a coach to make sure I have the proper plan for you to execute it. Same thing with employees. I have my trust. We have our operations that we do, and I trust that you're going to do your job, that we can best fulfill it. The same thing, like I said, with the spouse, I trust that you love me, we love each other. If we go out, we're still going to come home to the same bed the same night, right? It's all about trust and building those relationships.
I love how you were talking and you gave so many examples of why trust, right? Like, trust is fundamental to any relationship. And that's really what the game of life is about, right? Is about building those relationships. And what I found from my experience, and just pulling it back, is that when you start to build trust with yourself, and I mean, this is an entrepreneur, right? Like, when you're an entrepreneur, no one is getting you up to get up and to do those small things, right? Like, there has to be this ambition and drive to want to go up and do those little things. But I find, like, when you do those, like you said, repetition, and it's consistent, it's focused, that you build a trust with yourself. And once you start to trust yourself, you can actually trust more people. And then again, that sort of like circle of life happens. And yeah, so
if you don't love yourself, you can't love others.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Okay. No, but it's true, right? And yeah, that's sometimes we don't talk, it's kind of a little taboo, right? When you have quote unquote alpha males, that we don't talk about what this is, but really at the end of the day, regardless of what the scoreboard of life says, how much money is in your bank account, whatever that scoreboard says, can you unconditionally love yourself? Because when you do, it makes the next, makes life a little bit easier.
100%.
Great words. Okay. So I'm curious, you're in the process of building this great business, and you are someone who I view, like, in whatever you chose to do, I know you would be successful because, again, you got the ambition, you got the drive, you got the open-mindedness, you got an energy about you. You've always had that. So I'm curious, what was the inspiration to start Healthy Eats?
So we're backing up a while now here.
Yeah.
So one, coaching actually got me into personal training, right? Personal training, same thing, helping others achieve their goals, whether athletes, the average Joe, doesn't matter, right? Whatever their goal is, my job is to help them. Getting a lot of questions about food. Okay. What should I be eating? Is this good? Is this not good? So I didn't really, I don't want to talk about something unless I know what I'm talking about. So I went and I got my nutrition certification, so I could talk to people about food as I started nutritional coaching as well as personal training. I kept hearing the same story over and over again. I'm too busy for this. I'm too busy for that. I feel like my goals just aren't getting met. And, what they're doing in the gym is perfect, but it's the things I can't control for them, which would be their food intake. So I looked at meal prep options for them, thought, busy lives, they could actually probably use this. And then as I was contacting all these different meal prep companies, it wasn't my philosophy, right? It was low quality protein. It was too much carbs, wasn't actually going to help my clients achieve their goals. And, I remember playing for Western, coming into camp at 186 and in the national semifinals wearing 225. And, we're practicing 4 or 5 days a week. We're playing a game 1 day a week. We're working out 4 days a week. And I'm like, it's not the energy, it's the food, right? There's a reason why I gained 40 pounds in season. So, I'm like, I'm not just going to feed this to people not knowing. So I took it upon myself. I said, this is the nutrition we're going to follow. I'm going to cook it for you. Next, one guy tells their friend, they tell their friends. And then next, I build a website and random people are ordering from me. And now here we are, 4 years down the road. And I think I've done over $500,000 in sales. So pretty wild times.
Yeah. And it's, I acknowledge you, right, for taking that courageous action. And what I love about it is the business was created as a way to solve a problem, right? Like you were observant enough to kind of realize like, okay, I can support people, I can serve people in the gym, but how can I support them once they leave the gym, right? What they're fueling. And I love the fact of it actually came from your personal pain, right? Like you gaining 40 pounds, you're like, okay, there needs to be a solution because from my lived experience, this isn't working.
Yes.
Okay. So again, I'm curious, again, you've been at it for a while now, right? I think entrepreneurship is something that, it seems like everyone loves the idea of entrepreneurship, freedom, working for yourself. I think people sometimes fail to recognize that, or maybe they're unaware that there's ebbs and flows like any journey. I'm curious, what has it been like for you taking courageous action along an uncertain journey of entrepreneurship?
Truthfully, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Right. I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, there's bad days. I haven't had a day off in 4 or 5 years, right? Because if you don't work, the business isn't working and you're not making money, right? It's all up to you. Just like you kind of talked about earlier, right? It all comes down to you. People don't see that side of it where they just think it's as simple as I sell A, I get C. But no, there's definitely some ups and downs, but I think I wouldn't change it for the world. Have I had to say no to friends going out on a Friday night or a Saturday night or doing this or doing that? Have I lost friendships? Have I lost relationships in the past because of it? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I still wouldn't change it for the world.
And I love that you're so honest and sharing that, right? Like anyone is able to create success in life. And you can apply that to any area of life, whether it's health, business, finances, relationships. The question I always come back to is, are you willing to pay the price?
100%.
And you talked about it, right? There's a price that you're willing to pay. And that's where I always find it interesting because the word sacrifice has this quote unquote negative connotation. But I almost look for you, it sounds like you had to give up something of lesser value to gain something of greater value. It's like, yeah, like spring cleaning.
Yeah.
Okay. What has it been like? Like, I'm curious, like as it's growing, as the business is growing, what has been the biggest like aha about entrepreneurship, about growing a business? Like, yeah, I'm curious. What's the biggest lesson been?
I think that the biggest aha moment is, when you make maybe that big sale, or when you sign that big contract with like your first gym or first company per se. Yeah. You're like, you get that feeling like, hey, you know what I'm doing is right, and I'm in the right position. I'm right where I need to be right now.
Yeah.
But then you also can't stay there, because you got to bring yourself back to reality and keep going to the next step. Yeah. Right. But there are those moments that I think that just kind of hit you. You're like, I'm doing the right thing. Like I said, yeah, you're right here where you need to be, but we got to keep going.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you again, the importance of understanding that growth, creation, expansion are keys in life.
Yep. Just like I kind of talked about earlier, where, if you're not learning and growing yourself, right, you're trying to get better each day. Same thing with your business. You're never going to be happy like with this. It's always, okay, how can we grow to the next, right? Always trying to grow, always trying to learn, always trying to expand. So
it's interesting that you share that. What I'm really hearing for you, and again, this is a reminder for me, it took me a while on my personal journey, especially in my business, to start to realize, like you were mentioning, the external wins are kind of like mile markers, right? Like they're kind of just like metrics, little signs that you're on the right path. That really, as you said, falling in love with what you're doing on a daily basis is really the joy of life, right? It's really in the messiness of the uncertainty that really is when you start to have fun growing a business, growing in life.
100%.
Okay. I'm curious here, when you are, growing this, where do you see this? Like, where do you want to see this going to? Where's the big vision of this going?
Well, so I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Yeah. People have told me, I got to do what my competition does, where I have one big bulk store and I ship regionally. Yeah. Right. One thing that I pride myself on is everything we use is locally sourced. Everything we get is locally sourced, and we're cooking locally and just delivering locally. So where I see this going is multiple locations. I'm actually talking to a franchise lawyer right now. And basically they're just going to take my template, put it in this city. We're going to work with local vendors, get them there, and then just deliver locally. And, if we want to feed Canada, I'm not going to do it from London, Ontario. I'm going to feed Canada by having multiple locations in the cities, using their product, supporting their farmers, and then feeding that community. But that's the ultimate goal, is to have, multiple locations.
And it's interesting, like, as you share that, what comes up for me is how you're connecting back to your roots, right? Like you're connecting back to that family sort of like farm, and it's really just everything's coming full circle.
100%. Because why is, this farmer, born farmer from London, Ontario, feeding Vancouver, BC, when you could have someone that's from BC building those connections with their clients, with their employees and stuff like that. Right. So I think that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Do you, from your experience, do you see that is a growing trend? Like, again, it seems like people are becoming more aware. They want to know where things are coming from, right? They want to see how I don't know. I just feel like people want to spend their money in the local economy and things like that. Like, do you see that as a trend that grows?
I think the locally sourced is growing right now. Like, yeah. I'm not sure we kind of talked about it. My grandpa started a farm back in, the 70s or 80s. Yeah. When he sold the farm to my cousins in the 90s, farming was on a downhill, right? It was all about corporations, mass producing, and all of a sudden everything got processed. Now we're kind of seeing that back, as obesity rates, nutrition is obviously going way down because, there's no zinc or magnesium in vegetables anymore because the land is just absorbed. But, we're kind of seeing that trend go back where now it's going back to the whole foods, the health kick, the locally sourced. And, truthfully, that's the best way for your body to eat and nourish itself. So how can we do that for other people?
And by the way, I know we've gifted, healthy eats to family and stuff, and they absolutely love it, brother. And I know that we've, kind of talked about that, but I love everything that you're doing. It's awesome.
I appreciate that.
So my question is, obviously, we talked about before coming on here, the importance of passion. As you're venturing down here, passion is a word that gets thrown around a lot. What does the word passion mean to you?
Passion's everything, right? I would not be where I am right now without passion, right?
Yeah.
In terms of coaching football, if I didn't love football and I wasn't passionate about football, I wouldn't be coaching football. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
If you love something, you're going to want to do it more, and that's only going to bring happiness to your life, right? Mm-hmm. I know the importance of working out. I know the importance of proper nutrition. I love to eat healthy. I'm passionate about helping others. Mm-hmm. So how can I help you and instill this knowledge with my love and my business than with this product, right? And yeah, like I just said, like passion is everything. And without passion, there's no purpose, mm-hmm. right? And if you don't have a purpose in life, well, why are you waking up each day, right? Mm-hmm. What gets you out of bed each day?
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious from your perspective, again, you working with people in many different, right? Like, again, I'm a firm believer, coaching, management, it's just the development of people. I'm always curious, and this is a question that always comes back, purpose is something where it can feel like a big word, right? Like if you were to say something, what's your purpose? I think some people honestly don't know. And I think everyone's doing the best they can based on where their current level of awareness is. From your experience leading people, why is purpose a bit of a challenge for so many people to understand what their purpose is?
That's tough to answer.
Yeah.
That's tough to answer. From my perspective, purpose is my purpose in life is to help others, right? My purpose in life is to give back to others in terms of coaching, in terms of training, in terms of, feeding the right nutrition. Why other people don't have that purpose, mm-hmm. or how can they find their purpose? Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a question that I can answer them. Mm-hmm. I think it's a question they have to find themselves. Right. Is there, I'll say this example, being an entrepreneur, you think and see things completely different, right? You can honor that. I get mad, or I used to get mad when I see, the McDonald's worker. I'm like, you have so much going for you in life. You have so much, just open your eyes or something like that. Don't work minimum wage, but maybe their purpose is to feed their kids. Maybe their purpose is to put a house over their kids, to make sure that they're going to school, to do this, right? So it just kind of depends on what your purpose is where you are at in your journey. But I think what gets you up in the morning, you have to have purpose in order to do that. And if you don't have purpose, if you're, you're not working or you're not doing anything to better yourself, I think that's why probably, don't know if we're allowed to say this, but, mental health is probably a big part of that right now.
I love how you kind of shared this example, right? And I love how you broke it down, like your purpose, right? And yeah, it is a interesting one to try to articulate. But I love how you gave the example there of what is your purpose in this moment right now? And what I heard from you is it's playing for something bigger than just you, right? Whether, like you said, it's helping and serving your athletes, it's helping and serving people through healthy eats, right? From a nutrition standpoint. It can also be as something as, like you said, that example of that person who's just, they are looking to help and provide for their family. Like that is purpose. It's literally, and maybe this is why athletes, understand that, it's because it's playing for team. It's playing for something bigger than yourself.
100%.
Nice. Okay. I'm curious to your perspective. This kind of jumped out when you said the purpose, because I said, "Ooh, that's a tough one." How do you feel about this question? Like, what do you love to do?
Cool.
Is that a question that makes it feel a little bit like lighter, or does that feel heavier? I'm curious from your perspective.
I think it's lighter, but the answer isn't simple.
Yeah.
Like for example, what do I love to do? And it's the answer is I love to do what I love to do. Right.
Yeah.
I love to go out for dinner. I love to go watch movies. I love to hang out with my girlfriend. I love to play golf. Yeah. Right. All those little things that I love to do add up to your internal happiness.
Yeah. And what comes up for me as you describe that, I know those are all things you love to do. The entrepreneurship journey, right? Like that creation that you're in, that expansion, that growth actually allows you more freedom to do those things.
100%.
And I love how it's all connected to your purpose of helping and serving people. Wow, look at us just solving the world's problems.
Love it.
So I'm curious, brother, I want to be respectful of your time. Again, I know you're an in-demand entrepreneur. Things are growing. Yeah, what can we do to help and support you? Again, I know, I'm a firm believer. I will, testimonial here, folks. Anyone watching, anyone listening, anyone that I know that we've gifted Healthy Eats absolutely loves it. Yeah. What can we do to help and support you right now?
Just as maybe simple as following our socials, right? We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Eat Healthy Eats. And, just kind of right now, people really don't know who we are. Still very, very small. We're trying to build the brand. COVID was very good, but difficult for us because meal prep and, those at-home grocery deliveries really took off. Well, I had to turn from a small business to a corporation mindset very, very fast, right? I had to compete with those giants. And obviously those giants have deep pockets where small businesses do not. But yeah, if you can just, give us a follow on socials, like our stuff, and, just build the brand and build the awareness, that's perfect.
Okay. And I'm curious here, and this is where I want you to, be humble, but then also, share the beautiful gift. What's the benefit to supporting Healthy Eats as a, what's the benefit there?
The benefit is, one, you're helping yourself, right? Nutrition, gut, happy gut, healthy mind, right? Mm-hmm. Everything comes from that. We could be another here for a couple hours talking about gut health and, all the benefits of nutrition, but truly it comes down to the proper fuel. And that's what we give to you. And in turn, we help support the community. We help support the culture. And if we grow together as a community, we're going to help everybody grow. It's that simple.
I love that answer. And what I heard from you, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So brother, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you. I want to take a moment to acknowledge you for the man you are, the amazing son, the amazing partner, the amazing teacher, coach, mentor, but more importantly, the amazing human being you are, Luke. Over the last number of years, I've been able to watch you grow, evolve into the man you are, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I always love being around your energy. You have this love and passion for life that is a gift, brother. So keep shining your light, brother.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So folks, Luke shared so many valuable nuggets of wisdom. He shared valuable nuggets of wisdom that will not only help you succeed in sport, but in the game of life. But as I remind you every week in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the consistent and focused application of great knowledge that actually creates great results. So my challenge to you is to take one of these valuable nuggets of wisdom and go apply it to your life today. And as I remind you every week in the huddle, you are deserving of greatness. You are worthy of greatness. You are greatness. And My ask from these conversations is simple. If this resonates with you, then I encourage you to share this conversation with someone important in your life. The reason is the more people we have understanding these simple ideas, the more people we have going all in and truly betting on themselves, the more greatness will be shined in this world. As always, I look forward to having more conversations and to being here with you. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll see you next time in the huddle.